Hi, this is Jackie Aguirre, the host of What's Up Latin America. And today I have with me Dr. Maria Barragan, who is a dentist at KU. But I'm going to throw it to her so she can introduce herself more fully whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, I'm Maria del Cielo Barragan. I'm originally from Mexico City. I grew up all my life in Mexico. I went to dental school in Mexico City. And probably about 2 years after I finished dental school, I started thinking I needed to do a master's. And it was it was an okay life, you know. I was working in a dental practice over there, but I always wanted to do a little bit of research. So I applied for a scholarship in Mexico, and it's a scholarship that everybody can apply. So I was awarded with this scholarship, and I left to go to USC to do a master's. That was in 1997. That's a long, long time ago, probably before you were born, Jackie.
That's the
So
year
I
I
went
was
to,
born.
okay, that's the year you were born, 1997. I dropped off everything and I moved to this country with 4 luggages to do my master's degree. And the plan was to be here only for 2 years and go back and teach at the school in Mexico and everything, because my life was set over there. So I came to Los Angeles and it was like a little cultural shock because even though it's a big city, it was totally different from what I was used to. But it was a very nice experience. I was studying craniofacial molecular biology. So I learned a lot of stuff in the labs and dealing with the mice and experiments and cells, and it was all completely different. So I was away from doing clinic for a while. Um, it was LA is a multicultural city, so you see the differences, but not, because there's a lot of different people. And when you go to master degree in a university like USC, you have people from all over the world. So you do start exchanging cultures, there was Korean people, Japanese, from everybody in the world, Russian, I have a Russian friend from Peru. We have a lot of variety of cultures. So that was a very fun experience for me. Um, I met a guy over there and I married to him, but that's a different story. Then that's the reason why we moved to Kansas City. And I transferred my master's to a PhD in Kansas City. So now we're moving from the West Coast to the Midwest. So there's another cultural shock. And that's where you realize that you're the only Mexican in this place. That's a different story. When I came to Kansas City, I started my PhD in molecular biology and cell biology and biophysics at UMKC. The whole lab was coming from Texas, so we moved at the same time. So we were all learning about the city at the same time. But yeah, there was no Mexican people whatsoever. Few people from Asia, and the rest was white people. So yeah, it's always been a difference. At that time, they made an interview in the Kansas City Star for me about leveling the playing of fields. They want to have women and minority women in the research area. So they did an interview about me, and it was really, really nice to be acknowledged of being part of the research environment here. So it was good. I did a PhD. It lasted 6 years. It was a good place to be. And then I decided I want to combine my research with the clinic. That's when I came back to the clinic after a while, maybe about 10 years after the beginning of my master's. And I was teaching at the university at UMKC. I was in a special patient care, so we were in a clinic where we will see cancer patients and very special needs patients. So I was there for about 3 years. And then I decided to have my own practice and purchase an office. So I was in the real world all by myself, no academia around me. And that's when people start not trusting you 100% because they ask, where is the doctor? Are you the doctor? How long you been a doctor? Is this the first time you work on people? I have heard it all, right? But like, they don't come back because they don't feel that I know what I'm doing. So it was a different scenario from Mexico, I guess. But when you work hard and you prove yourself that if you want to do something, you will do it, then people start seeing the results, So I have patients that left right after they met me, and then they came back and said, okay, I remember you told me this and this and this, and that's what happened. Yeah, because I've been in this field for years, and I do my job to take care of my patients. So that's things that happen to us. And then this opportunity for KU Med happened in 2017. They called me and see if I wanted to help them in the dental clinic, especially working with cancer patients because they knew my history from UMKC. And I started working there as a part-time dentist. And the difference I see in this world is like they think I'm the translator coming to a room or, like a nurse, but they never think I am the doctor. So that's the things that we have to deal with every day. And then I have an accent, so some people don't understand me, but in the overall is a good thing. And after 4 years of working part-time, they offered me the full-time position and being the lead dentist. So I am now the lead dentist at the KU Med clinic, and we take care of the patients at the clinic and patients at the hospital. So it's a very, very nice environment where we're working. I work with all these doctors, not from all over the world, but most of them are white people. And I'm the only Mexican
Again.
there. But it's exciting. It's a good thing.
Yeah, of course. Do
So
you do you get frustrated at first when, I mean, you've done like 10 years of research, you have a PhD, you're more educated than like most people in general. Do you get frustrated when people question your expertise or like whether you know what you're doing?
you know, it's like an everyday situation. They ask me, so how many cases of this have you done? I've been a dentist for 26 years, and we've been treating with special patients and cancer for at least 11 or 12, maybe 13. And I'm a person that I like to be always updated in what I do, read the literature, because my success is going to be measured on how much I can help the patients. So I do know what I'm doing. Sometimes, like everybody else, we have our days that you kind of question yourself, or you can ask your colleagues about stuff to make the best treatment care for the patient. But yeah, they ask me how many of cases like me have you seen? So before I used to be a little more frustrated. Now I tell them, you know what, unfortunately, I've seen a lot, especially in the hospital, because that's where they come after they find out they have cancer, or they find out that the treatment that it was done a few years ago is failing. So yeah, I see that people wanted to hear more, or they want to trust more. I've seen them trusting other people because of the way they look, even though they are not as knowledgeable. But you know, that's how we have to deal with. It gets frustrating, yes, but we have to keep going. That's what is gonna make us different from others, more
Right.
different from others. Keep going, and you keep proving
Do you
yourself.
feel
Yeah.
like, do you feel a little bit of like, I guess like vindication kind of, or like pride when you have all of these obstacles in front of you, like people not trusting your expertise or saying that they can't understand you or things like that, and like you're still succeeding at the level that you're succeeding at? Do you feel like a little bit of just like so proud of yourself? Because like I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, at some point you have to say, hey, all that hard work and all those hours of that I haven't been home with my children and all that work that I have put on is paying off. Yes, you feel proud of what you have. And when you have your kids or when you have other girls like you around you, you want them to see that it's possible, that you can work hard and get somewhere. And I'm still working hard and I still have a lot of plans. And I like that people are trusting on what I have to offer, like for KU. So yeah, it is a proud moment right now. I don't know. I want to keep going. It's gonna kind of like the Chiefs. We want to keep going and winning. you know,
Back to back Super Bowls, you deserve it.
back to
Um,
back. Yeah.
on the other hand, because you speak Spanish and you're Mexican, do you find it easier to build trust with your Latino patients or your patients who only speak Spanish?
Yes, and because we're in a small community still, and Latin people kind of find themselves, I have patients that heard from other people about me and they come because I speak Spanish, and that make them feel more, they make them feel them secure and safe when you can speak Spanish to them. There's a lot of patients in the hospital that they need a translator. Well, I don't need a translator to tell them because I can speak to them. And that makes them feel that when they understand what you're truly telling them, they feel safe. And yeah, I have a lot of Hispanic patients. At the same time, some of them want an extra discount, and they also want you to do whatever they want or whatever they need at that moment. But they learn the system that you have to wait for your appointment and get done what we're planned to get done. But yeah, I mean, I have a good relationship with the Hispanic community, and I try to help them as much as I can. You know,
Right. Um, do you do you notice any, I guess, like disparities in between your primarily white patients and your primarily Latino patients in terms of like healthcare or previous dental work or just general trust in the medical system as a whole?
well, uh, usually the Hispanic community will not have dental insurance. The white community have dental insurance overall. Some of them don't, and they also have a mentality of going every 6 months to the dentist. They are very good about that. Latinos are not. They just go when they need to go. So that is one thing that the Latin community has to get used to, right? That you have to take care of yourself more often, not only when you're sick. But they are afraid. They're afraid to go to the doctor because it's going to cost them a lot of money, because they don't have insurance. In terms of the treatment they have in their mouth when they come, when they live in another country, yeah, it is different. Sometimes, and there is good and bad dentists everywhere, but sometimes cheaper doesn't mean better. So when they go and have a very terrible treatment and then they want me to fix it, well, sometimes I can't, because it's bottom line, you kind of lose your tooth. But yeah, there's a difference. But overall, you find white people that doesn't have insurance. You have African Americans that don't have insurance, Latinos that don't have insurance and don't take care of themselves, and you have the ones that go every 6 months, and if you tell them you need something, they'll do it, and they have better health, better teeth, better health. But you know, I think I think nowadays um, they can get an insurance. They can get to treatments easier than probably 10 or 15 years ago. I
That's
think
good.
that they're in a better. Mhm.
And
Yes.
how, like, I mean, whenever people talk about insurance and healthcare, they're usually referring to the medical side of things, like,
Mhm.
heart health, respiratory health, things like that. Do you
Mhm.
think there should be more discussion about like dental care as an integral part of your overall health?
Oh, of course, for sure. We kind of forget that the mouth is like everything goes through your mouth, and also there's diseases in your mouth that can reflect in your heart, that you can have infection in your teeth and infection in your mouth that makes you sick, that can go to your whole entire body, causing sepsis, which is an acute infection. So your overall health is going to help your overall dental care is going to help your overall health for sure. And people have to be more aware of that and taking care of themselves in a better way, because it's not just teeth. Teeth can create big problems in your overall health. It's like having diabetes, having high blood pressure. People that have periodontal disease can get very sick. So yeah, you have to take care of your health, oral health, very seriously. Yes.
And do you think it would be, I mean, I'm of the opinion that more diversity is always better. Do you think that would be like especially true for building relationships with patients if there were more minority doctors and nurses in the dental field?
Yes, because they will feel more secure, like we were talking about. And not only Latinos, there's Asians, there is other type of Latin American countries. They will feel more comfortable going to a dentist that speaks their language, that understand their culture and their needs. It will be
Right.
much better. Yes.
And you went to dental school in Mexico. Do you think you would have followed the same path that you're on now if you had been born and raised in the US and had had to go through the US education system instead of Mexico's?
I don't know. I haven't think about that. That's a good question. I don't know. I see my children. I have two high schoolers and a sixth grader, and it's hard for them. My oldest daughter at some point thought she wanted to be a dentist, but I think it's kind of difficult nowadays to go through college and acquire so much debt to go to dental school, and coming out of the dental school with $300,000 in debt, and you're just beginning your life and your career. So I don't know if I would have chose the same pathway. I always liked biology and chemistry and all that kind of subject. So I probably would have, I don't know what I would have done. Probably I will go to college, but I don't know if it will be easier. In Mexico, when you go to high school, in the last year of high school, you choose what you want to do, and you kind of put your courses onto what you want to do. And then you go from high school, you go to medical school, to dental school, to architecture, to whatever you want to do. We don't have those 4 years of college. So I think that some people can be lost on those 4 years of college, or their life can change dramatically and they cannot continue with their studies. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Yes, I was lucky I was born in Mexico.
Yay.
Yes.
Um, right now, especially in the last 4 years, there have been kind of strained relationships between US citizens and Mexican citizens and people who live in the US who look Mexican. Has it did the last 4 years make it more difficult for you as a Mexican woman in your everyday life, or is that kind of, I guess, attitude something that you've experienced a lot since you've been here?
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that you learn to live with, and it really doesn't, I mean, it's there. You cannot get rid of it. You cannot get rid of people looking at you weird in a store, or following you in a store, or asking you for checking your stuff all the time you want to walk out of a supermarket. So, but it also depends on the days, it depends on how you are dressed or who are you with, the way people react. So I guess, I mean, you can get mad and be upset all the time, or you can just think, I am sorry for them because they don't know what they're doing. They have no clue what's going on. So they can have their own opinion. People can have their own opinion. It's just a matter of, if they express something to me directly, I will definitely
As you should. And
yes.
you've kind of lived in two different Americas in a way. You've lived in like urban, multicultural America in LA, and more traditional Midwestern America here in Kansas City.
Mhm.
What were the biggest differences, I guess? Was there a noticeable difference in the way people treated you and reacted to you in those two different settings?
Yes, there is, because like I said, in LA, you don't feel like you're a minority per se, It's just more like a big city kind of living. Everybody minds their own business. There will not be any type of mistreatment. I mean, everybody will be kind of the same, because we are not a minority in California. But here, yes, it's completely different. It's more, you can feel it more in your everyday life than when you're in a big city.
And you still, sorry, were you saying
Sorry, I
something?
said it's getting better with the years. It's nothing like years ago.
That's encouraging to hear for sure.
Yeah.
Um, you go back to Mexico pretty frequently. Do you notice any changes in Mexican perception of like Americans as a whole or the US as a country when it like with the times?
Well, Mexicans have a different perception, like, of US than what we have from Mexico. Mexican people see the US like the American dream. It's always been a powerful country, a country that is next to us, that some people have come in very different ways for many, many years. So yeah, their perception is it's nice that you live there. It's a better life, which it is in a lot of ways. Here, I think you're missing a lot of family. When you're in the U.S. and even American families. I can see that. For example, when the kids are grown, they're just like waiting for them to leave and move out of their house that you've been caring for them for so long, and then you push them out to the world. That doesn't happen in Mexico. You have a more stronger family relationships over there. You don't need to leave your house. It's not bad that you still live with your parents when you are 25, 26 years old. Is normal. So I don't see that over here. And you go to the cousins and you go to the grandparents, and you don't see that much around here. You do big parties over there. There's not too much around here like that. But it all depends of each family on their own. When I go back to Mexico now, I can see I like I like to live here because you have more rules and everybody acts a little more normal, even though they have their own rules. Over there is a little crazy, but I still like to go every year. See my
Of course.
and
Yeah,
eat
for
all the
sure.
nice food.
In my experience, like at school, when I was away at school, and I guess less so with Latinos here in Kansas City, but definitely more so um, in my experiences at Notre Dame. A lot of times I don't speak Spanish, and a lot of times I run into some like resentment, I guess, from Latinos who are from Mexico, from Honduras, from Guatemala, who speak Spanish fluently and come to the US to study. There's kind of this like attitude that I like sold out or forgot my culture because I don't speak Spanish anymore. And you know, you've lived in Mexico, you were born in Mexico, and you've also lived here for quite a while and are raising kids here. What do you make of that divide that is between us?
You know, I always thought like the people you're saying that they were like looking at you like why you don't speak Spanish. I used to think like that until I had my own children and living here and trying to do all the stuff that I was doing, working and raising kids and having to go to daycares and having a lot of stuff going on. My kids didn't learn Spanish either, you know? And even my family will say, oh, why you didn't teach them? I'm like, I try to teach them a lot of things. And I try to them to speak Spanish and they know here some words here and there, but they do not speak fluently. So I think it's something that you lose on trying to have a life and try to do all the stuff that you want to do and you want to become and the kids going to activities and classes and everything and I didn't teach them either. And also because their father didn't speak Spanish either, so that's probably why we couldn't teach them another language, which is probably is a loss for them, but it happens, you know, it happens. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I see it in a different way now.
Hmm.
It's not that you don't want your kids to speak Spanish. Sometimes it can happen for other different reasons. I
Right.
speak Spanish all the time with my mom and with my sister and on the phone with my friends, and they hear it. So I know that if just like you, if you start studying it, they will get it. But yeah, it's something probably that we have to pay more attention as a parents to teach them and make an effort, but not everybody can, you know. I couldn't.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. For my family, you know, my family's been in the States for a really, really long time. So at one point, it was pretty dangerous for them to be speaking Spanish in public, and that's part of why it kind of died out in my personal family line.
Mhm.
Now it's more of a benefit in the job market, especially to be able to speak more than one language. But there's also some like lingering anti not English attitude, especially in the less urban parts of the country. Do you ever run into that like in public when you're speaking Spanish?
Well, they turn around and look at us. Yes, um, it happens every day. So that's probably one of the reasons why you kind of like don't put the effort on, you know, just trying to make your kids belong, probably.
Hmm.
Um, they're older now and they figure out that they say some words with an accent and they didn't realize it before, but it's because they learned it from me. Now they know. Now they say, oh, that's not how you say it, mom. So yeah, it's kind of like a protection to yourself in a way. I think it is.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
part of the whole perception that people has too.
Kind of pivoting topics now. Um, Sometimes there's a little bit of tension between the Latino community and the African American community, just like as both minorities in this country and both kind of struggling under systems that weren't necessarily built for us. do you find that some of the same like anti-Black attitude exists in Mexico as well?
Uh, yeah, I'm a little bit out of the norm there because I'm married to an African American. But yes, the perception against African Americans is probably the same in Mexico. They don't. When I was growing up, there was no African Americans in Mexico. They were like, oh, you have to be afraid of them because they're bad and they have guns and, they do all these bad things. And it's totally out of context. So I hope it's getting better, just like we're hoping it's getting better here. In terms of relationships with them in their work right now, I mean, they are nice. I mean, I have good relationship with everybody. I can be talking to the person that cleans the rooms after we leave the same way as I talk to the doctors and all these physicians in there. I don't discriminate at all. I mean, they're always nice and they always speak to you and they always try to help you. I haven't had any bad experience with any of African American people around me. So I'm a little biased on that one. Yeah, the Mexican people, they see them in a different way for sure.
Right. And you and your husband go to Mexico together sometimes. Is that something that you've run into while you're with him in Mexico?
Yeah, we do. And I have had experiences that I never had before in my life, living in there for 25 years and then coming back. Never had experiences like what I have with him. And we have seen some racism against him, even in my presence. So yeah, it is pretty dramatic. I don't like to talk about that, but it is.
I can only imagine. Just like in your own opinion, where do you think some of this like racism comes from? Because like in my opinion, I think it's really, really, really stupid because, we as brown people deal with a lot of discrimination in like a white system as a whole. And so it always like
Mhm.
irritates me when we as minorities discriminate against other
Discriminate.
minorities.
Well, it is about culture, because in different countries, like Latin American countries, you have to remember that their history comes from European. When the Europeans came and conquered them, it is a white community coming to them. And they also brought slaves that the the Hispanic American people there saw as a threat to them too, because okay, all these European people are coming here, but they're bringing their own slaves. So what are we gonna do? So there is a lot of cultural things and a lot of religion things and a lot of things that you have to look into history to understand why the racism is so prevalent in these cultures. That you are right. Like, how do you be racist to an African American when you are Hispanic or Latino? But I think it's more embedded in their culture, in our background, in our grandparents, and all these ideas that they used to have, that they grew up with. And it's hard to get rid of them. It has to be a lot of years and a lot of trying to educate people. Now, Mexico right now with the um, the government they're having right now, it's not very easy for them to see clear yet. So I think we're behind a few more years of how we're gonna get out of these anti other cultures. They are very thinking a lot about only on themselves, and they have a lot of problems on their own right now. So I don't think that's gonna be solved pretty easily. But yeah, I think it's just cultural, going many, many years ago.
All the way back.
All the way back. It's coming from all the way back, and we haven't been able to get over it, you know?
Right. A lot of negative attitudes that we inherited from Spain even after we
Right.
fought for
Even
independence.
independence, yes. And I mean, there's a lot of people there that don't understand, and they haven't even been here to understand what is it about. They just hear it, you know?
Right. Um, in the here and going to public school here in the US, I didn't learn anything about like what history actually looked like in the Americas in terms of like European colonization, slavery, the impact that has even today on African American communities and attitudes that everybody else has towards African Americans until I got to college and was exposed to more diverse
Mm-hmm.
professors, more diverse reading material. Do you think there's a similar, I guess, problem in Mexico, which is that they don't really teach you the truth of your history when you're younger, and it's kind of something you have to look for yourself when you get older?
I mean, I think you learn a little bit about history when you go to school, but it's just like a very superficial. It's just like when you go here to school in a public school, you just learn whatever they want to teach you about American history. So same thing happens over there. And Mexico has a lot of culture with the Aztecs and the Mayans and all that kind of stuff that people really have to be looking into deeply to understand how the colonization affected everybody in a different way. And yeah, they don't teach everything. You have to be very smart and look into a lot of stuff to understand what really happened. And if we know what really happened, we really know certain things.
Definitely.
So,
It's one of my gripes with education is that I feel like I had to unlearn everything once I got to college, and they were like, "Actually, that's not exactly how it went." And basically I've spent the last like 5 years just being like, "Nobody taught me anything."
exactly. Yeah, you have to really learn, and when you even when you read a lot of literature, you have to try to understand the view of each author and see the things on their way, what they were seeing at, and that's what you have to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. You know,
Right.
yeah.
This is a really niche topic. So if you don't have like a lot to say on it, that's totally fine, and we'll move on to something else. But while I
Okay.
was in one of my like it was called Colonial Renegades in the Yucatan. It was a class that I took my last semester senior year, which focused on the European colonization of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and the clash between the Maya population that were there and the Spanish population that were coming in. And one figure that we focused a lot on in that class was Malinche, who was a Mayan woman who was basically taken as like a consort by Cortez, and she spoke multiple languages. I think one misconception about Native Americans in the Americas as a whole, but particularly in Latin America, is that they were one like homogenous group when in actuality they were a lot of smaller tribes, often feuding with each other. Um, and so there's this perception. I don't know how strong it is still, but there was kind of a historical perception that Malinche was, kind of like a white man's whore, and she sold her people out, and she was like this really negative figure for a lot of Mexican history. Is that kind of an attitude that still persists? And do you think it has anything to do with like her being a woman?
I don't know exactly. I probably don't know too much of that history. My knowledge about her is that she was the daughter of one of the kings. So that's why she was so fluent in different languages and stuff, because she was privileged. And that's why this Cortez chose her to take her, really. And it was kind of a trade. um, I mean, people can say a lot of things about that, but what we know is that the different cultures in Mexico, the Mayans, the Aztecs, they all wanted the power. So that's the reason why they really conquered, because the Spanish took help of one of the sides. So I don't know. She, at least in Mexico and where we grew up, in the culture I grew up, was that she was a princess, like a Mayan princess or an Aztec princess that was taken by the Spanish. So we see her like kind of like a hero, not necessarily a bad thing. And she helped them to go from the peninsula all the way to the center of the country, and at the end win the battle and conquer them. She helped them do that. So some people that are very into the Mexican culture as a purity is going to say, well, she was a traitor. But in reality, she was just trying to, she was traded to the Spanish people, and she was just trying to survive, and 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 also the mixing between Mexican people and European people started with her. So it's different views, like I tell you, different views of how you see the history, how you interpret it, how you want it to understand it, and how you want to see it, pretty much. But
Right.
that's my view.
Um, let's see. There's a lot of talk about like machismo in Mexican culture, which is kind of this attitude of like what masculinity is, like a man's man, very tough. Um, there's a perception that that kind of attitude can be negative to women and men's perceptions of women, and the idea of what a woman should and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Um, is that something that you ran into a lot as a woman searching out a career in Mexico? And is that something that you've also run into here as a very successful career woman and also a mother here in the US?
Yeah, well, I think that is a very strong part of that culture over there. I remember one time my dad was telling me, you just need to do what a wife needs to do and clean the house and stop arguing. And I was like, why do I need to do that? So yeah, men are gonna look at women in a different way, like we're inferior. I don't think it's only a Latino problem, Middle Eastern have that engraved in their culture heavily. They think we are second. Um, when you are looking for a job, or you walk, for example, my dental hygienist at KU used to be a male, and they would think he was the dentist and I was the assistant. So there is everywhere. You're gonna see that everywhere. It's just a matter of how we women take that, you know. It's either you're gonna be under a man's rules, or you're just gonna keep doing what you have to do. And sometimes you have to be stronger and saying, I don't need to be put down as a second class citizen. I'm just as good as they are, and keep moving. Just keep moving away from that, for sure. And try to teach your especially your sons that a woman is going to be as equal as you, and you cannot be treating anybody less just because of their gender. So yeah, I mean, you grew up with that. When you grow up, they will say, well, women are just gonna go to school just in the meantime while they get married and have their happy families and serving your husbands. And I really don't want to do that, So you find people that are happy doing that or not. You're never gonna know if they really are or not. And find a man and be underneath that for the rest of their lives. And some women that say, I'm not gonna be a second class citizen. I'm just gonna be as equal as a person I wanted to share my life with, and teach your sons and your daughters that everybody's gonna be the same. So hopefully they'll find somebody that is not gonna be a macho.
Fingers crossed. And
Yeah,
hopefully those attitudes, continue to
trust.
shift as a whole. Last topic. It's a tad bit sensitive, so if you don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, that's totally fine. So you came here through more of like an education visa. Um,
Mhm.
the perception of people who are coming across the southern border right now um, isn't always the best. And the past 4 years, especially, there's been a lot of legislation put in place to make that
Mhm.
journey difficult, even more difficult than it was before.
Mhm.
Do you have any thoughts about our current asylum slash refugee slash immigration policies with our southern neighbor in particular?
Oh, well, I mean, it's a terrible thing of happening, you know. Um, I was listening to an interview they did of a judge in Arizona a couple of days ago, and he was saying that they were trying to send somebody back to Mexico that never been there, and they came here following a program given by United States that was called Bracero. So they're here, they grew up here, they work here, they pay taxes. They don't live off of our taxes or the stamps or anything. And then they wanted to deport them because they pass a red light. So I think that's a terrible thing. I came with a student visa at that time. You have to prove that you have money to support yourself, that you have insurance, that you have a school to go, that you have a place to live, that I mean that is they have to go through a whole scrutiny before they give you a visa. It's not that you just come here and stay, which I'm not saying some people do that, but it's not an easy thing. So yeah, people have the perception that we are kind of their taxes pay for the immigrants to have free food and free hospital, and they don't have anything. They really don't have anything. They cannot even be taken care of at the hospital because of the new laws. Before, if an immigrant person was in the hospital very sick, they will have to save their lives. Now they can deny.
Oh no. Okay, sorry, we had a tiny little technical glitch there. You were saying about immigrants in the hospital now.
Immigrants in the hospital. So before these 4 years, if an immigrant came to the hospital, they will have to save their lives. Now they can be denied of service because of being for the immigration status, and I think that's a terrible thing to do. Hopefully, we have hope now that we're gonna review these laws and all these reforms and everything that we can help them. And I always thought, they come here because they need to have a job, and some of the people that work here need them, you know, need the Latin people, the workforce that we offer. So they have to be a way for them to fix the immigration status and hopefully pay taxes
Right,
and like be like everybody else. But we'll hope. We hope something is gonna get better.
right. One quick subtopic for that. Something that I think maybe a lot of people don't really realize about the previous administration's remain in Mexico policy is that our immigration laws aren't just damaging to people who are trying to come here. They're putting a lot of strain on Mexico as well, because a lot of people who are trying to cross through the southern border right now aren't necessarily from Mexico. They're
Mhm.
coming from further south, Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua. coming up through Mexico, and because of these new restrictions in our immigration legislation, are being forced to stay in Mexico while they await asylum, and that places a huge strain on Mexico's resources as well.
Yes. Yes, and that's the problem of being the southern neighbor of the United States. Everybody has to come through there. And it's true, a lot of people are coming there. They're taking jobs of Mexican people. So it's kind of happening over there too. And it's just because everybody else are having problems in their countries and think that we're gonna solve them. Probably not. So I don't know. I don't know too much about laws. I'm just
Very educated dentist. Lots of really complicated things going on with
Yes.
immigration right now. Got some asylum shakeups, the DACA / Dreamer program that was on halt and now is hopefully gonna continue
Go through. Mhm.
going through. One other thing that I would like to throw out while we're on the topic of immigrants right now is that something a lot of people might not know is that immigrants, undocumented or otherwise, serve in our military. And prior to 4 years ago, there was a citizenship path for undocumented immigrants who served in the military for a certain amount of time. There was, kind of as a thank you for their service, a path to citizenship, and that was revoked in the previous administration. So I guess just kind of the point that I'm trying to paint here is that undocumented immigrants benefit this country in a lot of ways: workforce, military, paying into social security nets. They bring a lot of good to this country, and I think the anti-immigrant rhetoric that was going on,
Damage them.
yeah, was very damaging to both. Because a lot of our daily services here in this country, in the U.S., work because of the immigrant workforce. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
Kids that were detained on the border because they were American and the parents were not. That's a very, very sad situation. It's terrible.
yeah. All right. Well, that concludes our time here. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. I'm sure this is going to be really, really awesome because you're really, really awesome, and it was really great to hear your viewpoints on a lot of this stuff. I'm going to end the way that we always do with a quote from Claudia Flores. We must be impatient for change. Let us remember that our voice is a precious gift and we must use it.